My stepmother spent 15 years calling me ungrateful, then hired a lawyer when Grandpa's will gave me the farm instead of her kids. I was 8 when Dad married Veronica, 6 months after Mom died. She brought twins, Bryce and Tatum, both a year older than me. They got the master bedroom. I got moved to the attic. "You're so ungrateful," became her favorite phrase. New shoes because mine had holes? Ungrateful. Hungry after they'd finished dinner without saving me a plate? Ungrateful. Crying because they gave away Mom's jewelry to Tatum? Extremely ungrateful. Dad worked offshore, gone 3 weeks at a time. During those weeks, I became the housemaid. Cooking, cleaning, laundry. The twins got piano lessons, soccer camps, college prep. I got lectures about entitlement when I asked to join school band. But I had Grandpa. His 300-acre farm became my refuge every summer. He taught me everything. How to drive the tractor at 12, read soil quality, fix irrigation systems. "This land has good bones," he'd say. "Just needs someone who'll respect it." Bryce and Tatum refused to visit. Too boring, too dirty, no Wi-Fi. Veronica made excuses, but always asked about the farm's value, the acreage, the water rights. Grandpa would smile and change the subject. At 18, I moved into Grandpa's farmhouse full-time, started community college for agricultural business, worked the farm daily. Grandpa was slowing down, arthritis getting worse, but his mind stayed sharp. Dad visited monthly, always alone. "Veronica thinks you've turned Grandpa against her boys," he said. The twins were 25 now, living rent-free in Veronica's house, working part-time jobs at best. Then Grandpa got sick, stage 4 pancreatic cancer. Suddenly, the family visited constantly. Veronica brought casseroles and photo albums, talking about memories that never happened. The twins remembered loving Grandpa, though neither could name his favorite crop. 3 weeks before he died, his lawyer visited. After they talked privately, Grandpa called me in. "Everything's handled," he said. "Don't let them bully you." The will reading came. The lawyer announced the farm, all 300 acres, the house, the equipment, the water rights, went to me. Complete ownership. Veronica's face went white, then red. That's impossible. She manipulated him, isolated him, poisoned his mind against his real family. The lawyer handed her Grandpa's letter. "Your stepson earned this through 15 years of work. Your son's visited twice in a decade." By evening, she'd hired Mitchell Crawford, the most aggressive probate attorney in the county. The lawsuit claimed undue influence and fraudulent manipulation. I hired my own lawyer. Then I found Grandpa's bank statements. Veronica had taken $40,000 over 3 years, claiming it was for his medical expenses. Expenses he'd paid himself. Receipts showed the money funded Bryce's failed businesses and Tatum's luxury apartment. My lawyer smiled. "This is going to be interesting. The court date is next week. But yesterday, I found fresh tire tracks leading to the barn. Someone had been there at night. This morning, the irrigation system was sabotaged. Pipes cut cleanly, flooding 3 acres of newly planted corn. I called the police. They took photos, said they'd investigate. But Veronica's cousin works for the sheriff's department. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Drop the lawsuit or lose more than crops. I couldn't sleep that night. The farmhouse felt different. Exposed. Every sound made me jump. Around 2 a.m., I heard an engine in the distance. I grabbed Grandpa's old shotgun from the closet and moved to the window. A truck with no headlights rolled past the property line, too dark to see the plates. I called my lawyer at 7 a.m. "They're trying to intimidate you," she said. "Document everything. Get security cameras today." By noon, I had 4 cameras installed. Motion activated, cloud backup, the works. The installer, an older man named Frank, looked at the flooded field and shook his head. "Someone did that on purpose. Clean cuts like that don't happen by accident." "I know," I said. "You got enemies?" "Stepmom wants this farm," he grunted. "Family's the worst kind of enemy. They know all your weak spots." That evening, Dad called. First time in 3 weeks. "Veronica's very upset," he started. "No hello, no asking how I was. She thinks you're being unreasonable about this whole situation." "Unreasonable," I repeated flatly. "The boys could really use that land. Bryce wants to start a business." "Another one? How'd the last 5 work out?" Silence. "Dad, someone cut my irrigation pipes, flooded 3 acres of corn, then sent me a threatening text." "That's unfortunate. But you can't just accuse." "I'm not accusing anyone. I'm telling you what happened. Your wife hired a lawyer to steal my inheritance. Now someone's vandalizing my property." "Our property," he corrected. "I grew up on that farm too." "Then maybe you should have taken care of it. Grandpa left it to me because I'm the only one who gave a damn." He hung up. My phone rang again immediately. Unknown number. I answered on speaker. Recording app ready. "You got cameras now," a male voice said. Young, probably Bryce. "Won't matter. Drop the suit or we burn the whole place down." "Good luck with that," I said. "Voice recordings are admissible in court." Click. I sent the recording to my lawyer and the police. The detective assigned to my case, a woman named Rodriguez, called back within an hour. "We're taking this seriously," she said. "But I need to warn you, with Veronica's cousin in the department, information might leak. So what do I do? Keep documenting, keep recording, and watch your back." The next 3 days were quiet. Too quiet. I worked the farm during the day, checking the cameras constantly on my phone. At night, I barely slept. Then Friday came. I was in the barn repairing a combine when I smelled smoke. Not wood smoke, chemical smoke, harsh and acrid. I ran outside. The equipment shed was burning. Flames shot through the roof, black smoke billowing into the sky. I called 911, then grabbed the hose, but it was useless. By the time the fire trucks arrived, the shed was gone. Inside had been $80,000 worth of equipment. The tractor Grandpa taught me to drive. The cedar we'd used every spring, gone. The fire marshal investigated. "Definitely arson," he said. "Accelerant pattern shows it started in 2 places simultaneously." I showed him the recordings, the threatening calls, everything. He nodded grimly. I'll file my report. But proving who did it without evidence. He trailed off. That night, I sat in the dark farmhouse, staring at my phone. The court date was Monday, 4 days away. They were trying to break me first. My phone buzzed. Dad, I heard about the fire. Are you okay? No, Dad, I'm not okay. Someone burned down my equipment shed. Jesus. He sounded genuinely shocked. Listen, maybe Veronica has a point. Maybe you two should just split the property. She gets half, you get half. End this whole mess. Split it? I laughed bitterly. Dad, she stole $40,000 from Grandpa. Used it for Bryce and Tatum while claiming it was for medical bills. I have the receipts, the bank statements, everything. Silence. You didn't know that, did you? She said she was helping him manage his money. That he asked her to. He asked her to fund Bryce's third failed restaurant, Tatum's luxury apartment while Grandpa was dying in my spare bedroom because he couldn't afford hospice care. More silence. Monday, I said. Court's Monday. Come see the evidence yourself. I hung up. Saturday morning, Detective Rodriguez came by personally. The voice analysis came back on your threatening calls, she said. 93% match for Bryce Henderson, your stepbrother. Can you arrest him? Working on the warrant. But I wanted to warn you, he's escalating. The fire crossed a line. If you have somewhere else you can stay until Monday, this is my home, I'm not leaving. She looked at me for a long moment. Then be careful, really careful. That night, I didn't pretend to sleep. I sat in Grandpa's old rocking chair with the shotgun across my lap and every light in the house on. The cameras showed nothing but darkness and fields. At 3 a.m., my phone lit up. Motion alert from the barn camera. I pulled up the feed. 2 figures, faces covered, moving through the barn with flashlights. One carried a gas can. I grabbed my phone and called 911. 2 intruders on my property. They have accelerant attempting arson. Then I stepped onto the porch and fired the shotgun into the air. The blast echoed across the fields. The figures in the barn froze. I chambered another round, the sound unmistakable in the quiet night. Police are on the way, I shouted, and I've got you on camera. They ran. I kept the gun trained on the barn until I heard sirens. 3 sheriff's vehicles screamed up the driveway, lights blazing. Rodriguez jumped out of the first car. Anyone hurt? They ran when I fired a warning shot, headed east through the cornfield. 2 deputies took off running. Rodriguez came onto the porch. You did good. That warning shot probably saved your life. And my barn. We found the gas can inside. 5 gallons. Barely opened. If I'd been asleep, if I hadn't been watching the cameras, they would have burned it all. The deputies came back empty-handed. Lost them in the corn. But we found this. He held up a wallet. Dropped in the field. Rodriguez opened it. Tatum Henderson, my stepsister. She looked at me. We'll pick her up within the hour. Sunday morning, I woke up on the couch, still holding the shotgun. My entire body ached. I made coffee and checked my phone. 7 missed calls from Dad, 3 from Veronica, and 1 text from an unknown number that made my blood run cold. You got Tatum arrested. Bryce is next. But we're not done. Court won't matter if you're not alive to attend. I forwarded it to Rodriguez immediately. She called back. Pack a bag. You're going into protective custody until the hearing tomorrow. What about the farm? We'll have a deputy stationed here around the clock, but you need to be safe. I spent Sunday in a hotel room 30 miles away, going over my case file with my lawyer. Every bank statement, every receipt, every text message and recording. This is one of the most clear-cut cases I've seen, she said. The judge is going to rule in your favor, but I'm worried about what happens after. You mean if Veronica loses everything? She's desperate. Desperate people do stupid things. Monday morning arrived too fast and too slow. I dressed in the same clothes I'd worn to Grandpa's funeral. Navy blue dress, practical shoes. I looked tired because I was, but I looked determined too. The courthouse steps felt like climbing a mountain. Inside, Veronica sat with her lawyer. She dressed up, pearls and a designer suit, playing the role of respectable matron. When she saw me, her face hardened. Bryce wasn't there, still avoiding the warrant. But Tatum was, sitting in the front row in an orange jumpsuit, handcuffed to a deputy. Our eyes met. She looked away. Dad sat in the back, separate from everyone. All rise. The Honorable Judge Patricia Morrison presiding. Judge Morrison was in her 60s, sharp-eyed, with a reputation for not tolerating nonsense. She reviewed the case file, then looked at both parties. This is a dispute over the estate of Vernon Cole, specifically a 300-acre farm left to his grandson against the contestation of the deceased's daughter-in-law. Ms. Crawford? My lawyer stood. Your Honor, we're here because Veronica Henderson has filed a lawsuit claiming undue influence. We're prepared to show that no such influence existed, and furthermore, that Mrs. Henderson has been systematically defrauding the deceased for years. Mitchell Crawford shot to his feet. That's a baseless accusation. Sit down, Mr. Crawford, Judge Morrison said coolly. You'll have your turn. Proceed, Ms. Crawford. My lawyer projected the first bank statement onto the screen. On March 15, 2020, Veronica Henderson withdrew $8,000 from Vernon Cole's account. The memo line reads medical expenses. However, we have receipts showing Mr. Cole paid his own medical bills that month in full. She clicked to the next slide. The same day Mrs. Henderson withdrew that money, her son Bryce Henderson made a deposit of $70,800 into his business account. Click. April 2020. Another withdrawal, $6,500, marked medical expenses. Another deposit into Bryce's account. Click, click, click. Withdrawal after withdrawal. Deposit after deposit. A perfect paper trail. Over 3 years, Mrs. Henderson took $40,000 from Mr. Cole while claiming to help him manage medical costs. In reality, she was funding her son's businesses and lifestyle while Mr. Cole spent his final months in financial hardship. Mitchell Crawford tried to object, but Judge Morrison silenced him with a look. We have additional evidence. my lawyer continued. Voice recordings of Bryce Henderson threatening my client. Security camera footage of Tatum Henderson attempting arson on the property. A documented pattern of escalating violence designed to intimidate my client into dropping this case. She played the recordings. The courtroom went silent except for Bryce's voice threatening to burn everything down. Then the security footage. Tatum, clear as day, carrying the gas can into the barn. Judge Morrison's expression grew darker with each piece of evidence. Your Honor, my lawyer said, this isn't just about a will. This is about a woman who spent 15 years exploiting an elderly man, stealing from him, and now trying to steal from his rightful heir. And when legal intimidation didn't work, she resorted to violence. She sat down. Mitchell Crawford stood slowly. He looked like a man who knew he'd already lost. Your Honor, my client admits that mistakes were made in managing Mr. Cole's finances. However, mistakes? Judge Morrison interrupted. Mr. Crawford, I'm looking at dozens of fraudulent transactions. That's not a mistake. That's theft. We're prepared to make restitution. You're prepared to give back stolen money after you got caught. How noble. She turned to Veronica. Mrs. Henderson, stand up. Veronica stood, her face pale. Did you or did you not withdraw money from Vernon Cole's accounts without his knowledge? I was helping him? Yes or no? Yes, but did you use that money for your sons instead of Mr. Cole's care? Veronica's mouth opened and closed. Yes or no, Mrs. Henderson? Yes. Judge Morrison closed the file. I've seen enough. The will stands as written. The farm, all property, equipment, and assets remain with the rightful heir. Furthermore, I'm referring this matter to the district attorney for possible criminal charges of elder financial abuse. She turned to me. Young man, this is your property, free and clear. I'm also issuing a restraining order. Mrs. Henderson and her sons are not to come within 500 feet of you or the farm. Mitchell Crawford slumped in his seat. Veronica's face crumpled. This isn't fair. Those boys are his grandsons too. Stepsons, Judge Morrison corrected, who visited twice in 10 years while your stepson worked that farm daily, who contributed nothing while he gave everything. Save your arguments for the DA, Mrs. Henderson. We're done here. The gavel came down. I stood there, not quite believing it was over. My lawyer squeezed my shoulder. You won, completely. Dad approached as everyone filed out. He looked older somehow, defeated. I didn't know, he said quietly. About the money, the threats, any of it. You didn't want to know. There's a difference. What do I do now? I looked at the man who'd let his wife call me ungrateful for 15 years, who'd chosen her over me again and again, who'd only called when it benefited him. Figure it out yourself, Dad. I've got a farm to run. I walked out of the courthouse into bright sunlight. The next day, Detective Rodriguez called. We picked up Bryce, charged with arson, terrorist threats, and attempted arson. He's looking at 5 to 10 years. And Veronica? DA's building a case for elder abuse, fraud, and conspiracy. It's going to take time, but she's not getting away with this. I drove back to the farm. The burned equipment shed was a black scar on the land, but the rest stood solid. Grandpa's house, the barn, the fields stretching to the horizon. I had insurance money coming for the shed. The corn in the flooded section could be replanted. The work would be hard, but I'd been doing hard work my whole life. That evening, I sat on the porch with a beer, watching the sun set over my land. My phone buzzed. Text from a number I didn't recognize. I tensed, ready for another threat, but it wasn't. This is Frank, the guy who installed your cameras. Heard what happened in court. Good for you. If you need help rebuilding that shed, my son runs a construction company. He owes me a favor. First one's free. I smiled and typed back. I'd appreciate that. Thanks. Another text came through. My old college professor. Saw the news. Proud of you. If you ever want to finish that agriculture degree, you've got a recommendation letter waiting. Then another. A neighbor from 2 farms over. Heard you won. Good. That land belongs with someone who knows how to work it. And another, and another. People I'd helped over the years. People who'd watched me grow up on that farm. People who knew the truth. For the first time in weeks, I felt something other than anger or fear. I felt hope. 3 weeks later, Frank's son showed up with a crew. They rebuilt the equipment shed in 5 days, better than before. Fire-resistant materials, proper ventilation, security lights. When I tried to pay, he waved me off. Dad said first one's free. Besides, word's gotten around about what your stepmom did. Nobody in this county's going to help the Hendersons anymore. He was right. Veronica tried to hire a lawyer for the criminal trial. 3 firms turned her down. She tried to sell her house to pay for Bryce's defense. Nobody would buy it, not from her. The community had decided. Tatum took a plea deal. 6 months in county jail, restitution, and probation. She wrote me a letter from jail. 3 pages of excuses and justifications. I read the first paragraph and threw it away. I didn't need her apology. Bryce went to trial. Lost. 8 years in state prison. Veronica's trial came last. The DA had everything. Bank records, receipts, Grandpa's medical records showing he'd paid his own bills, character witnesses who'd seen her manipulate him. She was convicted on 7 counts of elder financial abuse, 4 years in prison, $80,000 in restitution, and a permanent ban from serving as anyone's financial power of attorney. Dad filed for divorce before she went in. Too little, too late. But at least he finally did something. He tried to visit the farm once. I met him at the gate. I want to apologize, he started. Okay, that's it? Just okay? What do you want me to say, Dad? That I forgive you? That we can go back to being a family? I shook my head. You chose her over me for 15 years. You let her abuse me. You believed her lies. You only cared when it affected you. I know I made mistakes. Mistakes are accidents. What you did was a choice. Every single time. He looked at the farm, the fields I'd planted, the new equipment shed, the house I'd painted. Your grandpa would be proud, he said finally. I know. He told me before he died. I watched him drive away and felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, just a quiet, settled certainty that I'd made the right choice. The farm took up all my time. I finished my agriculture degree online, taking classes between planting and harvest. I hired 2 seasonal workers, young guys fresh out of ag school, eager to learn. I taught them the way Grandpa had taught me. By the 2nd year, we were profitable. By the 3rd, I'd expanded to 400 acres, buying the adjacent property when old Mr. Harrison decided to retire. People started calling me for advice, how to maximize yield, which crops worked best in our soil, where to get good equipment cheap. I became the resource I'd needed when I was younger. One afternoon, I was in the barn fixing the tractor when a car pulled up. A woman got out, maybe mid-30s, professional clothes. "Can I help you?" I asked. "I hope so. I'm Rachel Vance with Midwest Agriculture Magazine. I'm doing a story on young farmers making a difference. Your name kept coming up." I wiped my hands on my jeans. "I'm not that interesting." That's not what I heard. 26 years old, running a 400-acre farm solo, mentoring new farmers, expanded profits by 200% in 3 years. "People say you're the future of farming in this county." "People exaggerate," she smiled. "Can I ask you some questions? Off the record, if you prefer?" We talked for 2 hours. About Grandpa, about learning to farm, about the challenges young people face in agriculture. I didn't mention Veronica, or the lawsuit, or the fire. That wasn't the story I wanted to tell. The article came out 3 months later. Full spread. Photos of the farm, quotes about sustainable agriculture and community building. I got calls from farming organizations, speaking invitations. A local college asked me to teach a guest lecture. I said yes to all of it, because Grandpa had been right. The land had good bone. It just needed someone who'd respect it. And I'd spent my whole life learning how. 5 years after the court case, I was checking the irrigation system when I saw someone walking through the cornfield. Teenage boy, maybe 16, looking lost. "You need help?" I called. He jumped, startled. "Sorry, I didn't mean to trespass. This is going to sound stupid. Try me." My grandpa used to talk about this farm, said it was the most beautiful place he'd ever seen. He died last month and I wanted to see it. To feel close to him, I guess. Something in my chest tightened. "What was your grandpa's name?" "Bill Harrison. He sold you the adjacent property a few years back." I remembered him. Old farmer, kind eyes. Loved to talk about the old days. "Your grandpa was a good man. He taught me about crop rotation. Said I reminded him of himself when he was young." The kid's eyes lit up. "Really? Really? You want to see the farm? I'll show you around." We walked the fields for an hour. I showed him what we were growing, explained the equipment, talked about Grandpa Cole and Bill Harrison and the legacy of farmers who'd worked this land. "Do you ever hire help?" he asked. "I'm about to graduate high school. I don't want to go to college. I want to do this." I looked at the kid. 16, eager, hungry to learn, exactly like I'd been. "Tell you what, come by this weekend. We'll see if you can handle the work. If you can, we'll talk about an apprenticeship." His face lit up like I'd handed him the world. Maybe I had. That weekend, he showed up at dawn, ready to work. He lasted the full day, never complained, asked smart questions. I hired him. His name was Peter, and he soaked up knowledge like a sponge. Within 6 months, he was handling basic maintenance. Within a year, I trusted him to run equipment. He reminded me so much of myself at that age it was almost painful. I taught him everything Grandpa had taught me: the value of hard work, the importance of respecting the land, how to read weather patterns and soil quality, how to fix things instead of replacing them. One day he asked about the burned patch where the old equipment shed had been. The grass had grown back, but you could still see the outline. What happened there? I considered lying, making up a story about an accident. But I'd never lied to him before. Someone tried to destroy this farm. Family members who thought they deserved it more than me, even though they'd never worked a day here. They sued, they threatened, they burned my equipment, they tried to burn the whole place down. Peter's eyes went wide. "What did you do?" "Documented everything. Got cameras, got lawyers, got proof. They all ended up in jail." "Were you scared?" "Terrified. But I was also angry. This was my grandpa's legacy, my home. I wasn't going to let anyone take it from me." He nodded slowly. "My mom says family's supposed to take care of each other. Good family does, bad family just takes." He went back to work, but I could see him thinking. The next week, he showed up with bruises on his arms. "What happened?" I asked. "Nothing, just clumsy." But I recognized that particular kind of clumsiness. I'd had it myself once. "Peter, what happened?" He wouldn't meet my eyes. "My stepdad thinks farming's a waste of time. Thinks I should work at his construction company instead." We got into it. The words hit me hard. Different details, same story. "Does he hurt you?" Peter shrugged, which was answer enough. "Do you have somewhere safe to go?" "My mom's not going to leave him. She says I'm being dramatic, that he's just trying to help me have a real future." I'd heard those words before too. "The farmhouse has a spare room," I said. "If you need it." He looked up, shocked. "Seriously?" "Seriously. You're 18 next month, right? 3 weeks. Then you're legally an adult. You can make your own choices. If you choose to leave, you have a place here." The gratitude in his eyes reminded me of how I'd felt every time Grandpa invited me to the farm. Peter moved in 3 weeks later, the day he turned 18. His mother cried and accused him of abandoning the family. His stepdad called me, threatening lawsuits and accusations. I'd heard those threats before. "Your stepson is an adult making his own choices," I said calmly. "If you harass him or me again, I'll file for a restraining order." He hung up. Peter thrived on the farm. Without the stress of his home life, he transformed. More confident, more skilled, more sure of himself. He enrolled in online agriculture classes, talking about maybe starting his own farm someday. "Why wait?" I said one evening over dinner. "We've got 400 acres. I've been thinking about expanding the operation. Could use a partner." He nearly choked on his water. "A partner? Like, actually?" You've proven yourself. You work hard, you're smart, you care about the land. That's what matters. But I don't have any money to invest. Neither did I when Grandpa left me this place. He invested in me because I earned it. You're earning it. Peter stared at me. I don't know what to say. Say yes. Then get ready to work your ass off because I'm not going easy on you just because you're a partner. He laughed, and it sounded like hope. We drew up a partnership agreement. 70-30 split, moving to 50-50 over 5 years as he proved himself. He'd manage the day-to-day operations while I handled the business side and expansion. Within 2 years, we'd expanded to 600 acres. We were growing corn, soybeans, wheat, and had started a small organic vegetable operation that sold to local restaurants. The farm employed 6 people full-time now. Good jobs, fair wages, real opportunities. Peter was 21 when he told me his mother had called. What did she want? I asked. To tell me she's divorcing my stepdad, that she's sorry for not believing me, that she's proud of what I've built here. What did you say? That I appreciated the apology, that I'm doing good, that maybe we can talk sometime, but I need more time. That's fair. She asked about you, said you must be a good person to give me this chance. I thought about Grandpa, about the chances he'd given me, about the legacy that wasn't just land and equipment, but knowledge and opportunity. I'm just paying it forward, I said. That summer, Dad showed up unannounced. I was in the barn with Peter teaching him to rebuild a combine engine when I heard his voice. Hello? Anyone here? I walked out wiping grease from my hands. Dad looked older, grayer, smaller somehow. What do you want? To see you, to see what you've done with the place. I gestured around. Look all you want. He took in the new barn, the expanded fields, the equipment, the newly painted house. It's amazing. Grandpa would be so proud. You already said that 5 years ago. I know. I wanted to say it again, and to tell you that Veronica got out last month. She's living with her sister in Florida. Bryce gets out in 3 years. Tatum's been out for a while, working at a call center. Good for them. They lost everything because of their greed. Their whole lives destroyed. They destroyed their own lives. I just refused to let them destroy mine. Dad nodded slowly. You're right. You've always been right. And I've been a coward. Yes, you have. Is there any chance, any possibility we could— No, I said simply. We can't. You had 15 years to be my father. You chose not to. You don't get to show up now that I've made something of myself and claim credit. I'm not trying to claim credit. Then what do you want? Forgiveness? Redemption? A relationship? He didn't answer. I don't hate you, Dad, but I don't need you either. I built a life without you, a good life, and I'm not interested in going backward. Peter emerged from the barn, took one look at the situation, and positioned himself next to me. Not aggressively, just present, supporting. Dad noticed. Who's this? My business partner. Peter, business partner. You're, 28 years old and you already have a partner? 29. And yes, because I learned from Grandpa that legacy isn't about keeping everything for yourself. It's about passing it on to someone who'll value it. The words hit Dad like a physical blow. He looked at Peter, then at me, then at the farm that could have been his if he'd ever bothered to be a father. I should go, he said quietly. Yeah, you should. He walked to his car, stopped, turned back. For what it's worth, I am proud of you, even if I have no right to be. I watched him drive away for the second time. This time I felt something. Not anger or pain, but a quiet kind of closure. You okay? Peter asked. Yeah, I am. We went back to rebuilding the engine. The farm continued to grow. We added another 200 acres, started a small dairy operation, opened a farm stand that sold our produce directly to consumers, hired more staff, became one of the largest employers in the county. I was 32 when Midwest Agriculture magazine came back, wanting to do a follow-up story. The same reporter, Rachel Vance, now promoted to senior editor. 5 years ago, you were a young farmer with potential, she said. Now you're running one of the most successful farming operations in 3 counties. You're mentoring young farmers. You've created jobs. You've revolutionized how people think about sustainable agriculture. That's a hell of a success story. It's Grandpa's success story. I'm just continuing what he started. No, you took what he started and multiplied it. That's all you. The article ran as a cover story. The new face of American farming. How one man turned trauma into triumph. I got calls from farming conferences, universities, even a publishing company wanting me to write a book. I said no to the book. Yes to the conferences and universities. Because the point wasn't to be famous, the point was to help. One speaking engagement stood out. A small community college, struggling ag program, students who looked like I'd felt at 18. Scared, uncertain, not sure they belonged. I told them my story. Not the sanitized version, but the real one. The abuse, the lawsuit, the arson, the threats, and how I'd survived it all by refusing to give up on the one thing I truly loved. Farming isn't just a job, I said. It's a legacy. Every seed you plant is a promise to the future. Every field you tend is an investment in tomorrow. And when people try to take that away from you, when they tell you you're not good enough or smart enough or deserving enough, you remember this. They're wrong. Your worth isn't determined by people who never did the work. It's proven by the work itself. A kid in the back row raised his hand. What if your family doesn't support you? Then you build a new family, out of people who respect you, believe in you, and show up when it matters. Blood doesn't make family, loyalty does. After the speech, a dozen students came up to thank me, to share their own stories of family rejection, of being told farming wasn't a real career, of struggling to prove themselves. I listened to every single one, gave them my email, told them to reach out if they needed advice or help or just someone who understood. 3 of them ended up interning on my farm the next summer. By the time I was 35, the farm employed 22 people. We'd expanded to 200 acres. We were supplying 6 restaurants, 3 grocery stores, and a farmer's market. We'd added chickens, pigs, and a small orchard. Peter was running day-to-day operations now, freeing me up to consult with other farmers and speak at events. We'd become genuine partners, equal stakeholders in something bigger than either of us alone. One day, I got a letter from an attorney's office I didn't recognize. My stomach clenched. Another lawsuit? After all this time? I opened it. Dear Mr. Cole, I am writing on behalf of Tatum Henderson. My client wishes to make amends for the harm she caused you 7 years ago. She has asked me to facilitate a meeting, should you be willing. She understands if you choose to decline. I stared at the letter for a long time. Part of me wanted to burn it, to tell Tatum to go to hell, to refuse her any kind of closure. But part of me wondered. I called Peter into the office. What do you think? He read the letter. What do you want to do? I don't know. Part of me thinks she doesn't deserve my time, but part of me wonders if maybe hearing what she has to say might give me closure. Then do it. But on your terms. Here, on the farm, with me present if you want. You'd do that? You were there for me when I needed it. I'm here for you now. That's what family does. I smiled. Okay, let's see what she wants. The meeting was scheduled for the following Tuesday. Tatum arrived precisely on time, driving a modest sedan. She looked different. Older, harder, but also somehow softer, more genuine. Peter stood next to me as she approached. She noticed, but didn't comment. Thank you for seeing me, she said. Her voice was quiet, nervous. You've got 30 minutes. Talk. She took a deep breath. I'm not going to make excuses. What I did was horrible. Bryce and I tried to destroy your life because our mother taught us you were stealing what was rightfully ours. But the truth is, you earned that farm. You worked it, loved it, sacrificed for it. We never did any of that. No, you didn't. I spent 6 months in jail thinking about what we'd done, the arson, the threats, the lawsuit, and I realized our mother had poisoned us. She'd spent years telling us we deserved things we never earned, that you were the enemy, that Grandpa had been manipulated. And now? Now I know she was the manipulator. She stole from a dying man and taught her children to be thieves too. Tatum's eyes filled with tears. I can't undo what I did, but I want you to know I'm sorry. Genuinely, deeply sorry. I stood there looking at my stepsister, the girl who'd gotten piano lessons while I scrubbed floors, who'd worn Mom's jewelry while I cried, who'd tried to burn down my barn. Why now? I asked. It's been 7 years. Because I finally dealt with my part in all this. I've been in therapy, working through the damage my mother did. I got my GED in jail, started community college after I got out. I work full-time, I pay my restitution, I volunteer with at-risk youth. I'm trying to be better. Good for you. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I wanted you to know that what you did, refusing to back down, fighting for what was yours, it actually helped me. It showed me that actions have consequences, that you can't just destroy people's lives without it destroying you back. I looked at Peter. He gave a small nod. I appreciate the apology, I said. I do, but I can't forget what you did. The trauma, the fear, the damage. That stays with me. I understand. But, I paused. I'm glad you're doing better. I'm glad you learned something. And I hope you keep getting better. Tatum nodded, tears running down her face. Thank you. That's more than I deserve. She turned to leave, then stopped. The farm looks amazing. Grandpa would be so proud. I know. After she left, Peter and I sat on the porch, not speaking. How do you feel? He finally asked. I don't know. Lighter, maybe? Like I can finally close that chapter? That's good, right? Yeah, it is. We sat in comfortable silence, watching the sun set over fields we'd planted together. The years continued to roll by. The farm kept growing, not just in size, but in impact. We started a program for at-risk youth, teaching them farming skills and work ethic. 3 kids turned into 10, then 20, then 30. Some moved on to college, others stayed in agriculture. All of them found purpose and direction. I met someone, finally. Diana, a veterinarian who consulted on our livestock operations. She was smart, funny, and understood the demands of farm life because she lived them too. We dated for 2 years before I asked her to marry me. The wedding was on the farm, naturally. Small ceremony, close friends, workers who'd become family. Peter stood as my best man. Diana's sister was her maid of honor. Dad wasn't invited. During the reception, Diana and I stood on the hill overlooking the property. All 200 acres, bathed in golden sunset light. Grandpa would have loved this, I said. He's here, Diana said, squeezing my hand. In every seed, every field, every person you've helped. That's legacy. She was right. We built a house on the property, not far from Grandpa's original farmhouse, which we'd converted into offices and housing for seasonal workers. Our home was simple but comfortable, with big windows overlooking the fields. Diana got pregnant a year after we married. We had a daughter first, named Vera after Grandpa's mother, then twins, a boy and girl. Raising children on the farm was different than I'd imagined. They grew up understanding where food came from, the value of hard work, the cycle of seasons. By the time Vera was 8, she could drive the small tractor. By 10, she was helping with the harvest. The twins, River and Sage, followed close behind. One day, Vera asked about my childhood. We were in the barn, she was helping me repair a fence, getting her hands dirty and loving it. What was it like when you were my age, Dad? I considered lying, making it sound easier than it was, but I'd never lied to my kids. It was hard, I said. My stepmom wasn't kind, I had to work a lot, and I didn't always have people who believed in me. That's sad. It was, but it taught me things, like how to be strong, how to fight for what matters, how to build something good out of something bad. Is that why you help so many people on the farm? Yes, because I remember what it felt like to need help and not get it. So when I can help someone, I do. Vera nodded seriously. When I grow up, I want to run the farm like you. My heart swelled. You can do anything you want, but if you choose the farm, I'll teach you everything, just like Grandpa taught me. Deal. We shook on it, her small hand grubby in mine, and I felt the legacy continuing. Peter eventually got married too, to a teacher named Lily who loved the farm almost as much as he did. They built a house on the opposite end of the property and had 2 kids of their own. The farm became a community, multiple families living and working together, supporting each other, building something sustainable and good. I was 43 when I got another letter from an attorney. This time it was about Veronica. She'd died of a heart attack in Florida, alone in a small apartment. The letter explained that she'd left a note, asking that I be informed. No apology, no explanation, just a request that I know. I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no grief, no anger. Just a distant acknowledgement that a chapter of my life was truly over. Bryce got out of prison the next year. I heard through the grapevine that he'd moved out west, working construction, staying out of trouble. I hoped he'd found some peace. Tatum called once years after our meeting, just to tell me she'd gotten married, that she was happy, that she was still working on being better. I don't expect you to care, she said, but I wanted you to know. I'm glad you're doing well, I said, and meant it, because that's what healing looks like. Not forgetting the harm, but releasing the hold it has on you. The farm continued to thrive. We won awards for sustainable agriculture. We were featured in documentaries about the future of farming. Universities brought students to tour our operations. But the thing I was proudest of wasn't the acreage or the profits or the recognition. It was the people. 22 employees had become 40. 40 became 60. We provided good jobs, fair wages, health insurance, retirement plans. We invested in our people because Grandpa had invested in me. The program for at-risk youth expanded. We partnered with social services, providing internships and training for kids aging out of foster care, kids from troubled homes, kids who needed a chance. Hundreds of young people came through over the years. Some stayed a season, others stayed for years. A few became permanent employees. All of them left with skills, references, and the knowledge that someone believed in them. One kid, a 17-year-old named Jordan, who'd been bouncing between foster homes, asked me the same question Peter had years before. Why do you help people like me? I told him the truth. Because someone helped me when I needed it most. And because everyone deserves a chance to build something good. But what if I mess up? Then you learn from it and do better next time. That's what second chances are for. Jordan stayed for 3 years, learned the business, then moved on to start his own small farm 2 counties over. He calls every few months, asking advice, sharing his progress. That's legacy. Vera graduated high school as valedictorian. She'd been accepted to agricultural programs at 3 major universities. I'm thinking about staying, she said one night over dinner. Managing the farm with you and Peter instead of going to college. Diana and I exchanged looks. You should go to college, I said. Learn new techniques, modern technology, sustainable practices, then come back and make this place even better. But legacy isn't about you doing exactly what I did. It's about you becoming the best version of yourself, then bringing that back to the land. She went to college, double majored in agricultural business and environmental science. Came back 4 years later with ideas that revolutionized our water conservation and soil management. The twins followed their own paths. River studied veterinary medicine like Diana. Sage went into agricultural policy, working on legislation to support small family farms. All 3 stayed connected to the farm, even when their work took them elsewhere. I was 52 when a production company reached out, wanting to do a documentary specifically about my story. The abuse, the inheritance fight, the lawsuit, the rebuilding. I almost said no, but Diana convinced me. People need to hear this. Not because you're special, but because you're not. You're proof that anyone can overcome their circumstances if they're willing to fight for it. The documentary took a year to film. They interviewed me, Peter, Vera, dozens of employees, and former at-risk youth. They tried to interview Bryce and Tatum. Bryce declined. Tatum agreed. She looked good on camera. Healthy, stable, honest. He had every reason to destroy me, she said. To let me rot in prison, to refuse my apology, to gloat about his success while we failed. But he didn't. He showed me grace I didn't deserve. That changed my life. The documentary was called Growing Forward, One Man's Journey from Abuse to Abundance. It premiered at a film festival and was later picked up by a major streaming service. The response was overwhelming. Thousands of messages from people who'd experienced similar family trauma, who'd been told they were worthless, who'd fought for their inheritance, their dignity, their right to exist. I tried to respond to as many as I could, offered advice, support, encouragement, because that's what you do when you've survived. You reach back and pull others forward. I was 58 when I officially retired from day-to-day operations. Vera had returned from her master's program and was ready to take over. Peter was transitioning to a consultant role, spending more time with his grandkids. The farm was in good hands. Diana and I built a smaller house at the edge of the property, with a view of the original farmhouse where Grandpa had taught me everything. I spent my days consulting, mentoring, and occasionally speaking at events. But mostly, I sat on the porch with my wife, watching the sunset over land that had saved my life. One evening, Vera came by with her own children, my grandchildren. They ran through the fields, laughing and playing, completely unaware of the trauma and triumph that had built the ground beneath their feet. They're going to do amazing things, Diana said. They already are. They're growing up knowing they're loved. That's more than I had. You broke the cycle. We broke the cycle, I corrected. You, me, Peter, everyone who chose to build instead of destroy. Vera joined us on the porch, watching her kids play. I've been thinking about expanding the youth program, she said. Maybe building housing, making it a full residential program for kids who need long-term stability. I smiled. Grandpa would love that. What do you think? I think you're going to be even better at this than I was. She leaned against my shoulder. I learned from the best. We sat in comfortable silence, 3 generations on a porch, watching the farm thrive. That night, I dreamed of Grandpa. We were in the barn, working on the old tractor. "You did good, kid," he said. "Real good. I just did what you taught me." "No, you took what I taught you and made it better. That's how it's supposed to work. I miss you. I'm always here. In the soil, in the fields, in everything you built." That's the thing about legacy. It doesn't end when we do. It keeps growing. I woke up with tears on my face and peace in my heart. The farm is 1,500 acres now, employs 93 people, produces food for thousands of families, provides opportunities for hundreds of at-risk youth, supports 3 families across 3 generations, and it all started with an 8-year-old kid who just wanted someone to love him. Someone did. And that changed everything. I'm 62 now. I still wake up early, still check the fields, still remember every lesson Grandpa taught me. But more than that, I remember what I learned on my own. That family isn't just blood. That legacy is what you build, not what you're given. That justice isn't always quick, but it's worth fighting for. That land has good bones, but only if you respect it. That trauma doesn't have to define you. That revenge is sweet, but building something good is sweeter. Veronica called me ungrateful for 15 years. She was wrong. I was grateful. Grateful for every hardship that made me stronger. Grateful for Grandpa's love and guidance. Grateful for the opportunity to prove her wrong. Grateful for the chance to build something that would outlast all the cruelty and pain. The farm isn't just my victory. It's Grandpa's legacy. It's Peter's future. It's Vera's inheritance. It's hope for every kid who's ever been told they're worthless. It's proof that the people who love and support you matter more than the ones who try to tear you down. And it's mine, free and clear, earned through 15 years of work and 15 more of building. Veronica's gone now. Bryce is somewhere out west. Tatum found her own redemption. Dad died 5 years ago, still carrying his regrets. I attended his funeral. Not because I'd forgiven him, but because I'd moved past needing to. The farm remains, the land remains, the legacy remains. And that's all that matters. Every spring, when I plant the first seeds, I think about Grandpa. About the 8-year-old kid who just needed someone to believe in him. About the 18-year-old who inherited a dream. About the 23-year-old who fought in court for what was his. And I think about the man I've become, not despite the pain, but because I refuse to let it break me. That's the real inheritance. Not land or money or property, but the knowledge that you can survive anything if you're willing to work for something better. Grandpa knew that. Now I know it too. And every person who's come through this farm, every kid who's found hope here, every family that's built a life on this land, they know it too. That's legacy. That's justice. That's victory. And it's mine.